I am 94 years old, and I have spent more than half my life carrying a truth that did not just break my heart. It changed the kind of mother I became. It changed the kind of silence I lived in. And now, at this age, when most people think the worst is already behind them, I have learned something terrible. Some secrets do not stay buried, they wait. And when they finally rise, they do not only expose the people who lied, they expose the life you built around that lie. My name is Evelyn Brooks. I was born in 1931, in a world that taught women very early how to endure. Not how to heal, not how to leave, not how to ask for better, just how to endure, and I did, for far too long. But before I tell you what my husband did, I need you to understand something. This is not just a story about betrayal. It is a story about what betrayal does to a person who stays. And that is the part nobody warns you about. I married my husband, Walter, in the summer of 1950. I was 19. He was 24. He had a strong voice, a nice smile, and the kind of confidence that made a young woman feel safe just standing near him. Back then, safety looked a lot like love, or at least we believed it did. We got married in a small church in St. Louis. No grand wedding, no fancy meal, just family, hymns, and a promise I thought would carry me the rest of my life. We rented a little house with peeling paint and a narrow front porch. It was not much, but when you are young and you are hopeful, even a small life can feel like a palace. We had 3 children, Thomas in 1952, Renee in 1955, and Samuel in 1959. I cooked every meal in that little kitchen. I ironed school clothes. I waited up when fevers ran high. I stretched money when there was not enough. I did what so many women of my time did. I gave my whole self to the life in front of me. And for many years, I thought Walter was doing the same. He worked long hours. He paid the bills. He sat in church on Sundays in a clean, pressed suit. People respected him. That matters more than it should, I think. A man can do many things in private, but if people clap for him in public, the world is slow to question him, and Walter knew that. Oh, he knew that very well. Now listen closely, because this is where everything began to shift. In the late 1960s, something in our home changed. I cannot explain it in a neat way. It was not one thing, it was the air. A woman knows when the air changes in her own house. I do not care what anybody says. She knows. The laughter gets thinner. The excuses get longer. The eye contact gets shorter. A husband who once came straight home starts needing more time somewhere else. A man who used to talk freely becomes careful. Too careful. And careful men are often hiding careless things. But that was not even the worst part. The worst part was how hard I worked to explain it away. That is what women do when they are afraid the truth will cost too much. We do not rush toward the truth. We bargain with it. We soften it. We delay it. We pray over it. We call it stress. We call it work. We call it a phase. Anything but what it is. I remember one Tuesday evening in 1968. He said he had to stay late at the plant. I had made meatloaf, his favorite. The children ate without him. I wrapped his plate and kept it warm. 9 o'clock passed, then 10. When he finally walked in, he smelled like cologne, not steel, not work, cologne. And I remember looking at him and feeling something cold move through me. He kissed the top of my head and said, "Long day," and I smiled. "Can you believe that?" I smiled. I said, "Your food is in the oven." That is how secrets survive, not only through lies, through the silence of the people who already know they are being lied to. Years went by like that. Little signs, little warnings, little pieces of truth. And then one day, God help me, the truth stopped being little. It was the spring of 1972. I remember because Renee was graduating high school that year, and I was hemming a dress for her in the dining room. Walter had gone to take a shower. His jacket was hanging over the chair. I was not searching. Let me say that again. I was not searching. But a folded paper slipped from the inside pocket and fell to the floor. It was a receipt from a furniture store across town. A bedroom set, paid in full. The name on the delivery order was not mine. It said, Mrs. Helen Carter. I stared at that paper a long time, because sometimes your body understands before your mind does. My hand started shaking before I had even made sense of what I was seeing. I waited until he came out. I held the paper in my hand. He looked at it, then at me, and in that 1 second, before he spoke, I knew. I knew there was something bigger than an affair, much bigger. I asked him one question. I said, "Who is Helen Carter?" And instead of looking confused, he sat down. "Do you hear me?" He sat down, like a man too tired to keep holding a door closed. That is how I knew the worst had already happened. He told me her name was Helen. He had known her for years, not months, years. Then he said something I have never forgotten. He said, "I didn't mean for it to become what it became. Let me tell you something. When a person says that, the truth is already far gone, because life does not become another family by accident. It becomes that through choice, through repetition, through comfort, through selfishness, through 1,000 moments where someone decides your pain matters less than their desire." And then he told me the part that took the breath out of my body. He had a daughter with her, a little girl, 6 years old. My husband had another child, another home, another woman washing his shirts, another table where he sat down and ate, another little girl who called him Daddy. I was 41 years old when I learned my marriage had a second address. I wish I could tell you I screamed. I wish I could tell you I threw something. I wish I could tell you I stood up for myself in some strong, clean, unforgettable way. But real pain is not always loud. Sometimes it is very quiet. Sometimes it just sits down beside you and drains all the strength from your body. I remember sitting in the dining room chair, staring at my own hands and thinking only one thing. What will this do to my children? That was my first thought. Not me, not my pride, not my broken heart, my children. And that right there was the beginning of my second mistake, because the first mistake was trusting him too much. The second was believing I could carry the damage alone and somehow spare everyone else. I asked him how long. He said since 1964, 8 years. 8 years. Do you understand what that means? It means while I was packing school lunches, he was building another life. While I was sitting beside him in church, he was already someone else, somewhere else. While I was defending him to people, he was dividing himself between two homes like he was entitled to both. And this is where most people make the biggest mistake when they hear a story like mine. They ask, "Why didn't you leave?" That is the easy question. The real question is, what did leaving cost a woman in 1972 with 3 children, no job history, no savings of her own, and a church full of people ready to blame her before they blamed him? People love courage when it is somebody else who has to pay for it. Back then, I had no money in my name. Walter handled everything. The house was in his name. The car was in his name. Even the checking account was mostly his shadow, not my safety. That is how many women lived. Dependent, but told it was dignity. Trapped, but told it was family. I told him I wanted the truth. All of it. And he gave me just enough truth to keep me from exploding, but not enough truth to set me free. He said he loved me. He said it had gotten out of hand. He said he was going to end it. They always say that. Men standing in the smoke of the fire they started always talk about endings. But some endings are just pauses. I made conditions. I told him the house would be signed into both our names. I told him I wanted money set aside every month where I could reach it. I told him if I ever found one more lie, I would tell the children. I believed fear would change him, but fear does not change character. It only changes behavior for a while. And what happened next changed everything. I stayed. And in staying, I became a woman even I did not recognize. I grew sharp, cold, suspicious, not overnight, slowly, like frost taking over a window. I watched every phone call, every late night, every dollar. I counted things. Hours, receipts, excuses. He would say he was 10 minutes late, and I would hear an hour. He would smile, and I would search the smile. He would bring flowers, and I would wonder who taught him guilt that week. My children felt it. Of course they did. Children may not know the facts, but they feel the weather in a house. And after 1972, I was a storm they did not understand. Thomas pulled away first. He was already a young man by then. He stopped telling me things. Renee became careful with me, always polite, never relaxed. Samuel, my baby, still came near me, but even he learned to measure my mood before opening his mouth. That is the part betrayal steals from you, not just trust in your husband. Sometimes it steals softness from your children too. They saw their father as the calm one, the easy one, the warm one. And me? I became the hard one, the watchful one, the mother who snapped too quickly, the mother who asked too many questions, the mother who looked tired even when she had just woken up. I did not understand it then, but I do now. I was punishing the wrong people with the pain I was too trapped to place where it belonged. Years passed. The children grew up. They married. They moved. Life kept moving on the outside. But inside me, time had stopped in that dining room with that paper in my hand. Walter and I stayed married. Yes, we stayed married, 31 more years. And if you think that means he changed, let me save you the trouble. No, he only became better at hiding. I found that out in 1987. By then we were older, quieter, living more like habit than husband and wife. I answered the phone one afternoon and a little girl said, "Can I speak to my daddy?" Little girl, soft voice, maybe 10, maybe 11. I said, "Who is this?" She got scared and hung up. I stood there with the phone in my hand, and I knew. There was another child, not the daughter I already knew about. Another one. When he came home, I did not ask. I looked at him and said, "How many?" He said nothing, and silence is an answer. Let me tell you, there are moments in life when your pain goes so deep it becomes almost calm. That was one of them. I sat at the kitchen table and laughed, not because anything was funny, because I had finally reached a point where sorrow had nowhere new to go. All those years, all that watching, all that hardening. And still, my life had been built around a man with no bottom to his deceit. By then, leaving would not have saved my youth. It would not have returned my softness. It would not have given my children the mother they needed in the years I had already lost. So I stayed in body, but something inside me left for good. He died in 2003. Stroke. Quick. The church was full for his funeral. Full. People stood up and called him faithful, dependable, a good provider, a pillar. Funny how the dead receive mercy that the living never offered the people they hurt. I sat there in black and did not cry, not because I felt nothing, because I had already grieved him long before he was buried. That is another truth people do not talk about. Sometimes the marriage dies years before the husband does. After the funeral, everyone went home, and I was left with the silence. Not just widow silence, truth silence. The kind that fills a house when the liar is gone, but the lie remains in the walls. For years after that, my children called me, visited when they could, lived their own lives. They loved me, I know they did. But there was distance, a strange distance, the kind that grows when children spend decades misunderstanding the sadness in their mother's face. Renee once told me, about 10 years ago, "Mama, you were always so hard to get close to." She said it gently, but it still cut, because she was right. I was hard to get close to. I had spent too many years guarding the wound instead of healing it. But that was not even the final blow. No, the final blow came last winter. There was a knock at my door on a gray Thursday afternoon. I almost did not answer. At my age, nobody knocks unless it is church, delivery, or trouble. I opened the door and saw a woman in her late 50s, maybe 60, neatly dressed, quiet eyes, and standing beside her was a younger man, 40, maybe 45. She looked at me for a long second and said, "Mrs. Brooks?" I said yes. Then she said the words that made my knees go weak. My mother was Helen Carter. Walter Brooks was my father. I held the door frame so I would not fall. I knew then that the past had not come to visit. It had come to collect. They sat in my living room, the same living room where Walter once fell asleep in his chair with the evening news on. The same living room where my children opened Christmas gifts. The same living room where I had swallowed decades of truth, and there sat the life he had built beyond me. The woman's name was Lorraine, not 6 anymore, not a shadow, not a rumor, a whole woman, a grandmother herself. She told me Helen had died 2 years earlier. Before she died, she told Lorraine everything. She told her who Walter was, how long it lasted, how he moved between homes, how he promised things to both women and gave peace to neither. Lorraine said she did not come for money, did not come for trouble, did not come to blame me. She came because she had spent her whole life carrying half a story, and she wanted to look the other half in the face. Do you know what broke me? Not her presence, not even the proof. It was her kindness. She looked at me like I was not her enemy. And all I could think was how many years I had spent hating a ghost while the real damage sat in a casket with flowers on top of it. She brought photographs. Walter holding a bicycle for a little girl, Walter at a birthday table, Walter at a graduation, Walter smiling the smile I thought belonged to our family. He had given memories away, memories I thought were ours alone. That is something no one tells you. Betrayal is not only about sex. Sometimes it is about stolen moments, stolen years, stolen versions of a man you thought belonged to your life. Lorraine said one thing I will never forget. She said, "He was there, but he was never fully there." I think he was divided long before we ever understood why. That sentence hit me hard, because that was true in my house too. Divided men leave whole families hungry, maybe not for food, but for truth, for steadiness, for peace. After she left, I sat in my chair until it got dark. I did not turn on the lamp. I just sat there. And for the first time in many years, I let myself say it out loud. He ruined more than one home. He ruined the women inside those homes. A week later, I called my children, all of them. Thomas drove in from Kansas City. Renee came the same evening. Samuel arrived the next morning. They sat around my table, older now, gray at the temples, reading glasses on their faces, children and grandchildren of their own, and I told them everything, not part of it, everything, The first child, the second child, the years, the lies, the phone call, the woman at my door. I told them what it did to me. That part mattered most, not just what he did, what it did to me. Thomas cried first, my oldest boy, 72 years old, head down at my kitchen table. He said, "I thought you just didn't like us much when we got older. Do you hear that? That is what silence cost me." My son thought my pain was a lack of love. Renee held my hand and said, "Mama, you should not have carried that alone." And Samuel, sweet Samuel, looked at me with tears in his eyes and asked the question that has haunted me since. He said, "Would you have been different with us if you had told the truth?" And the answer was yes. Yes, I would have been different, softer, safer, more open, less angry at shadows. But life does not hand back the years just because you finally understand them. That is the tragedy of old age. Wisdom comes, but often after the season where it could have changed everything. Still, something happened after that day, something small but holy. My children came closer, not because the truth was beautiful, because it was honest. Truth hurts, but it also explains, and sometimes explanation is the first step back to love. Now Thomas calls every Sunday. Renee visits twice a month. Samuel fixed the loose step on my porch last week. Little things, simple things, but at 94, simple things can feel like grace. And I want to say this to anyone listening, especially women, especially older women, especially those who have carried too much for too long. Silence does not protect love. It protects fear, and fear is a poor foundation for any family. If the truth is turning you cold, if the secret is changing the way you love your children, if the burden is making you disappear inside your own life, please understand me. The price is already being paid, even if no one knows the bill yet. I used to think I was keeping my family together. Now I know I was keeping a lie alive and letting it shape all of us in the dark. That is not strength. That is survival dressed up to look noble. And there is a difference. I do not hate Walter anymore. Age has a strange way of wearing anger down, but I do see him clearly now, not as the handsome man at the altar, not as the smiling father in church, not as the respected husband in a dark suit. I see him as a cowardly man who wanted the comfort of being loved without the responsibility of being honest. And that truth came too late. But it came, and in these final years, I have learned something worth saying. A hard truth told in time can save a family. A lie protected for decades can poison one. You do not get your youth back. You do not get the missing softness back. You do not get to mother your children a second time. But if God is kind, you may still get one last chance to be known as you truly were. Not the angry one, not the cold one, not the difficult one, just the wounded one, just the woman who carried too much, too quietly, for too